The morning sun rose over New Busan like it did every other day. The sky was a soft purple, and the twin moons were still visible near the horizon. Children walked to school. Farmers checked their crops. Ships landed at the spaceport with goods from other colonies. Admiral Yuna stood on her balcony and watched the peaceful city below. She had served in the Earth fleet for 30 years before retiring here. New Busan was her home now. She loved the quiet life, the kind neighbors, and the beautiful sunsets that painted the alien sky in colors Earth could never match. Her communicator beeped. It was her old friend from the military, Commander Dae-sung. "Yuna, are you seeing the news?" His voice was tense. "What news?" She walked inside and turned on her screen. The reporter looked scared. "We are receiving reports of unknown ships entering New Busan's orbit. The Colonial Defense Force is attempting to make contact, but there has been no response." Yuna felt her heart go cold. She had seen this before. 30 years ago, she had watched a similar scene unfold at another colony. That colony no longer existed. "Dae-sung, how many ships?" she asked. "Our sensors show over 200. They are Vectari warships." The Vectari were a proud and aggressive species. They believed they were the rightful rulers of the galaxy. Humans were new to space travel, only spreading among the stars for the past 300 years. The Vectari had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. They saw humans as insects, not worthy of respect or mercy. "Have you contacted Earth?" Yuna asked. "I am trying. But the Vectari are jamming our long-range communications. I cannot get a signal through." The first explosion came without warning. Yuna watched through her window as a beam of green light struck the city center. Buildings turned to dust. Thousands died in an instant. She grabbed her emergency bag and ran. Outside, people were screaming. Parents carried children. Old people stumbled through the streets. The sky was filled with Vectari ships, raining death upon the innocent colony. At the spaceport, Yuna found chaos. Ships were trying to take off, but Vectari fighters shot them down one by one. She saw a young pilot struggling to start an old freighter. He could not have been more than 25 years old. "Do you need help?" she shouted over the noise. The young man looked at her with desperate eyes. "The engine will not start. I am a pilot, but I do not know how to fix engines." "I do." Yuna climbed aboard. "What is your name?" "Taeho. I fly cargo ships between colonies." "Well, Taeho, today you are flying refugees. Get everyone you can aboard." While Yuna worked on the engine, Taeho opened the cargo doors. People flooded inside. Among them was a young woman in a medical uniform, carrying a child who was not her own. "The hospital was destroyed," she said, her voice shaking. "I could only save this one." "What is your name?" Taeho asked. "Hana. I am a medic." "Welcome aboard, Hana. Find a place to sit. We are leaving soon." Yuna's hands moved fast. She had not worked on ship engines in years, but the knowledge came back to her like an old song. She found the broken part and fixed it with wire and hope. "Try it now," she shouted. Taeho pressed the ignition. The engine roared to life. "Everyone hold on," he yelled. The freighter lifted off just as a Vectari fighter turned toward them. Taeho pulled the ship into a steep climb. The fighter fired, but the shot missed by meters. Yuna made her way to the cockpit. Through the front window, she could see New Busan burning. The beautiful city she had called home was gone. Columns of smoke rose into the purple sky. The Vectari ships continued their attack, destroying everything that moved. "Can we escape?" Hana asked, appearing at the cockpit door. "The Vectari are blocking the normal jump points," Taeho said. "But there is an old emergency route. It is dangerous, but it might work." "Do it," Yuna ordered. "We have to reach Earth. We have to tell them what happened here." Taeho nodded and entered the coordinates. The freighter shook as it accelerated toward the emergency jump point. Behind them, 2 Vectari fighters gave chase. "They are gaining on us," Hana said, watching the scanner. "I know." Taeho pushed the engines harder. Red warning lights flashed across the control panel. "Come on, old girl. Just a little more." The jump point appeared ahead, a swirling circle of blue energy. The Vektari fighters fired again. One shot hit their rear shield, and the ship shook violently. "Shields at 20%, Yuna reported. "One more hit, and we are dead." "Almost there," Tejo whispered. The freighter entered the jump point just as another shot flew past them. In an instant, the stars stretched into lines, and they were gone. Inside the ship, silence fell. People cried quietly. Children asked for parents who would never answer. Hana moved among them, doing what she could with limited supplies. Yuna sat in the co-pilot seat and stared at the swirling colors of jump space. Her home was gone. Her neighbors were dead. The peaceful life she had built over 10 years had been destroyed in minutes. "How many people did we save?" she asked quietly. Tejo checked the internal sensors. 117. New Busan had a population of 2 million. 117 survived. "The Vektari will pay for this," Yuna said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with cold fire. "I do not know how, and I do not know when, but they will pay." Tejo looked at her. He saw the pain in her eyes, but also something else. Something that made him believe her words. "How long until we reach Earth?" he asked. 3 days through this route. The ship will need repairs when we arrive, but we will make it." Hana came to the cockpit with a data chip in her hand. "I found this in the cargo hold. Someone recorded the attack on their personal device before they died. It shows everything. The Vektari ships, the weapons they used, the destruction." Yuna took the chip carefully. "This is our evidence. Earth needs to see this. The whole galaxy needs to see what the Vektari did to innocent people." The freighter flew on through the darkness between stars, carrying its cargo of survivors and grief. Behind them, New Busan burned. But ahead of them, Earth waited, and Earth would not forget. Fleet Commander Dae-sung stood in the control center of Earth's military headquarters. The room was filled with officers watching screens and reading reports. For the past 3 days, they had been trying to contact New Busan. Every attempt had failed. "Sir, we are receiving a signal from an unknown ship approaching the solar system," a young officer reported. "Identify it. It appears to be a civilian freighter. The registration says it is from New Busan." Dae-sung felt hope rise in his chest. "Open a channel." The screen flickered, and Admiral Yuna's face appeared. She looked tired and old, but her eyes were still sharp. "Dae-sung," she said. "We need to talk." "Yuna? What happened?" "We lost all contact with New Busan 3 days ago. New Busan is gone. The Vektari destroyed it. We are the only survivors. 117 people out of 2 million. The control room went silent. Officers stopped their work and stared at the screen. Dae-sung felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "Are you certain?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. "I watched it burn with my own eyes. We have video evidence. The Vektari attacked without warning and destroyed everything. They killed civilians, children, everyone." Dae-sung closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his face had changed. The friendly man was gone. In his place stood a commander, ready for war. "Land at the military spaceport. I will meet you there personally. And Yuna, I am glad you survived. So am I. But survival means nothing if we do not act." 2 hours later, Yuna, Tejo, and Hana stood in the Great Hall of the United Earth Council. The council was made of representatives from every human nation and colony. They were the leaders of humanity. The video played on a massive screen. The council members watched in horror as New Busan burned. They saw children running from falling buildings. They saw hospitals destroyed. They saw the Vektari ships firing again and again until nothing was left. When the video ended, no one spoke. Some council members had tears in their eyes. Others had faces of stone, hiding their fury behind masks of control. The Prime Minister of Earth, an old woman named Unbi, stood slowly. She had served humanity for 40 years. She had seen wars and disasters. but she had never seen anything like this. "Admiral Yuna," she said, her voice steady. "On behalf of the United Earth Council, I extend our deepest sorrow for your loss. The people of New Busan will never be forgotten. Thank you." "Prime Minister," Yuna replied. "But sorrow is not enough. The Vektari must face justice, and they will." Unbi turned to face the council. "For 300 years, humanity has tried to live peacefully among the stars. We have traded with other species. We have shared knowledge. We have avoided conflict whenever possible. But some species see our peace as weakness." She paused, and her eyes grew hard. "Today, we show them how wrong they are. I am calling for a vote. I propose we activate the Retribution Protocol." Gasps filled the room. The Retribution Protocol had never been used. It was created 200 years ago as a last defense. If activated, it would call every human warship from across the galaxy to gather at Earth. "Prime Minister," one council member said nervously, "the Retribution Protocol will reveal the true size of our fleet. The galaxy believes we have only a few thousand ships. If they learn the truth, let them learn," Yunbi said firmly. "For too long, we have hidden our strength. We kept our true numbers secret to avoid frightening other species. But our secrecy has made us look weak, and because we looked weak, 2 million of our people are dead." She pressed a button, and a map of human space appeared on the screen. Thousands of lights blinked across the galaxy. Each light was a ship. "We have 60,000 warships spread across our territory. Battleships, carriers, cruisers, destroyers. Hidden in shipyards, disguised as cargo ships, waiting in secret bases, the largest fleet in the known galaxy. Today, we stop hiding." The council voted. It was not even close. Every single representative voted yes. Daesung was given command of the assembled fleet. He walked to the communication console and opened a channel to all human ships. His message was broadcast across the stars. "This is Fleet Commander Daesung of the United Earth Navy. I am issuing Protocol Retribution. All ships are ordered to gather at Earth within 30 days. This is not a drill. We have been attacked. New Busan has been destroyed. 2 million humans are dead. The Vektari Empire has committed an act of war against all humanity. We will respond with the full strength of our species." Across the galaxy, human ships began to move. In hidden bases, crews ran to their stations. In secret shipyards, captains ordered their vessels to launch. On trading posts and space stations, human merchants closed their shops and returned to their military ships. Taeho watched the map as more and more lights began moving toward Earth. He had never imagined humanity had so many ships. No one had. "Why did we hide them?" he asked Yuna. "Because humans know something other species have forgotten," she answered. "True strength is not shown by waving weapons. True strength is shown by choosing not to use them. We wanted peace, so we hid our power. We hoped we would never need to use it, but now we need it," Hana said quietly. "Yes, now we need it." Over the next 30 days, ships arrived at Earth from every corner of human space. The sky above Earth became crowded with warships of every size. Battleships as large as cities floated next to swift destroyers. Carrier ships held thousands of fighters. Support vessels carried supplies for a long war. The galaxy watched in disbelief. Other species had always thought humans were few in number and weak in military power. They had tolerated humans because they seemed harmless. Now they saw the truth. "Impossible," the Vektari Emperor said when his spies reported the fleet size. "Humans cannot have 60,000 ships. Our intelligence said they had 3,000 at most." "The intelligence was wrong, Emperor," his advisor replied nervously. "Very wrong." Back on Earth, Daesung called Yuna to his office. "The fleet is almost complete," he said. 58,000 ships have arrived. The rest will be here within a week." "Good. When do we attack?" "Soon. But first I have a request. I want you to lead the vanguard." Yuna was surprised. "I am retired, Daesung. I have not commanded a ship in 10 years. You are the best tactical mind I know, and you have every reason to be at the front. New Busan was your home. You deserved to lead the charge. Yuna thought about her destroyed home. She thought about the neighbors who died. She thought about the children who would never grow up. I accept, she said. Taeho and Hana were assigned to the command ship as part of Yuna's personal team. They were not soldiers, but they had survived the massacre. They had earned their place. The fleet was ready. 60,000 warships, crewed by millions of humans, all burning with the same cold fury. The Vectari had awoken something they did not understand. Humanity was coming. And humanity did not forgive. On the throne world of the Vectari Empire, celebrations continued for weeks after the attack on New Busan. The Emperor held feasts in honor of his victorious fleet. Soldiers received medals. Songs were written about the great victory over the human colony. We have shown the humans their place, the Emperor announced to his cheering court. They are weak creatures, fit only to serve the mighty Vectari. Soon, we will take more of their worlds. Within 10 years, all of human space will belong to us. His advisors nodded and praised his wisdom. None of them dared to mention the strange reports coming from human territory. None of them wanted to believe what their spies were telling them. In a small room far from the celebration, Military Commander Reth read the latest intelligence report. His hands were shaking. This cannot be true, he whispered to himself. It is true, Commander, said his intelligence officer. Our agents have confirmed it multiple times. The humans are gathering a fleet of unprecedented size at their home world. How many ships? The current estimate is over 58,000. And more are arriving every day. Reth felt sick. The entire Vectari military had only 15,000 warships. Even with their advanced technology, they could not fight a force 4 times their size. We must tell the Emperor, Reth said. I have tried, Commander. He does not believe the reports. He says our agents are mistaken or scared. He says humans are too weak to have such a fleet. Then he is a fool. The intelligence officer said nothing. Speaking against the Emperor was dangerous, even in private. Far across the galaxy, the human fleet made final preparations. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the command ship, the massive battleship named Vengeance. Around her, officers worked at their stations, checking systems and running simulations. Taeho sat at the navigation console. In the weeks since New Busan's destruction, he had trained hard. He was no longer just a cargo pilot. Now he was a military navigator, one of the best in the fleet. Hana worked in the medical bay, preparing for the injuries that would come with battle. She had recruited other survivors from New Busan to help her. They all wanted to do something, anything, to honor the people they had lost. Admiral, an officer called out. We are receiving reports from the other species. They want to know what is happening. What are they saying? Yuna asked. Most of them are asking us to stop. They say attacking the Vectari will start a galactic war. The Venthari Collective has offered to mediate a peace agreement. Yuna laughed, but there was no humor in it. Where was the Venthari Collective when New Busan burned? Where were all these concerned species when 2 million of our people died? They were watching, Taeho said bitterly. Watching and doing nothing. Exactly. Tell them we appreciate their concern, but we will handle this ourselves. Any species that interferes will be considered hostile. The message was sent. No other species responded. They were too afraid, or too curious, to get in humanity's way. Fleet Commander Dae Sung arrived on the Vengeance for a final meeting before the attack. He gathered the admirals and captains in the war room. In 12 hours, we will begin the jump to Vectari space, he announced. The journey will take 5 days. When we arrive, we will emerge directly in orbit of their throne world. What about their other systems? One captain asked. Should we not attack their outer colonies first? No, we are not here to conquer territory. We are here to end a threat. If we strike their capital directly, the war will be over quickly. If we play games with their outer systems, it could take years. Yuna nodded in agreement. The commander is right. The Vectari understand only one thing. Power. We must show them our power so completely that they never dare attack us again. What if they surrender? Another captain asked. Then we accept their surrender, Daesung said firmly. We are not monsters. We do not kill those who give up. But they must surrender completely. No negotiations, no compromises, complete surrender or complete destruction. Those are the only options. The meeting ended. Officers returned to their ships. The fleet began its final preparations. Hana found Yuna standing alone at a window, watching the countless ships floating in the darkness. Are you ready for this? Hana asked. Yuna did not turn around. I have been ready since I watched New Busan burn. The question is whether the Vectari are ready for us. I never thought I would be part of something like this. I was just a colony medic. I spent my days treating children with colds and workers with small injuries. Now I am on a warship about to attack an empire. War changes everyone, Yuna said. It takes ordinary people and forces them to do extraordinary things. Some people break, others become stronger. You have already proven which kind you are. How? You survived. You saved a child. You did not give up. That takes more strength than most people ever find. The two women stood together in silence, watching the stars. Across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Soldiers wrote letters to their families. Pilots checked their fighters one more time. Commanders reviewed battle plans until they knew them by memory. In the mess hall of the Vengeance, Taeho sat with a group of other young officers. They were all nervous, though none of them wanted to admit it. Do you think we will survive? One of them asked quietly. Probably not all of us, Taeho answered honestly. But that is not the point. The point is making sure humanity survives. Making sure what happened to New Busan never happens again. You were there, were you not, at New Busan? Taeho nodded. The memories were still fresh. Still painful. The screaming. The fire. The bodies in the streets. What was it like? It was the worst day of my life. But it was also the day I learned something important. I learned that some things are worth fighting for. Worth dying for. Our people. Our homes. Our future. The Victari tried to take that from us. We will take it back. The young officers raised their cups. To humanity, they said together. To humanity, Taeho repeated. 12 hours later, Fleet Commander Daesung gave the order. 60,000 ships activated their jump drives. The largest fleet in galactic history disappeared from Earth's orbit in a flash of blue light. In their palace, the Vectari Emperor continued his celebrations, unaware of the storm heading toward him. In ships across the galaxy, other species watched their sensors with fear and wonder. They had never seen humans act like this. They had never seen any species act like this. And in the darkness between stars, 60,000 warships flew toward their target, carrying the fury of an entire species. The Vectari had wanted war. Now war was coming to them. The sky above Vectari Prime turned dark. It happened slowly at first. A few dozen points of light appeared near the planet. Then, a few hundred. Then, thousands. Within an hour, 60,000 human warships filled the space around the Vectari throne world, blocking out the light of their sun. In the Emperor's palace, alarm bells rang for the first time in centuries. Guards ran through the halls. Advisors shouted at each other. The Emperor himself stood frozen at his window, watching his sky disappear behind a wall of enemy ships. Impossible, he whispered. This is impossible. Military Commander Reth rushed into the throne room. His face was pale with fear. Emperor, the human fleet has arrived. We are completely surrounded. They outnumber our home defense force 20-1. Call our fleets from the other systems. Order them to return immediately. I have already tried. The humans have blocked all our long-range communications. We cannot reach anyone outside this system. We are alone. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Admiral Yuna watched the Vectari world below. It was a beautiful planet, covered in blue oceans and green forests. Millions of Vectari lived there, going about their daily lives. Most of them had probably never even heard of New Busan. Admiral, Taeho reported. All ships are in position. The fleet is ready. Yuna nodded. Open a channel to Fleet Commander Daesung. Daesung's face appeared on the screen. He looked calm, but his eyes were tired. The weight of commanding 60,000 ships and millions of soldiers was heavy. Admiral Yuna, status report. The Vanguard is in position. Enemy defenses are minimal. Their orbital stations are powered up but not firing. I believe they are in shock. Good. I will give them a chance to surrender. If they refuse, we attack. Daesung opened a broadcast to the entire Vectari planet. His message was translated into their language and played on every screen, every speaker, every communication device on the world. People of the Vectari Empire. I am Fleet Commander Daesung of the United Earth Navy. Your military has committed an act of war against humanity. Your ships attacked our colony of New Busan without warning. They killed 2 million innocent people, including children, elderly, and those who had no way to defend themselves. He paused, letting the words sink in. We have come for justice. But we are not here to destroy your species. We are not here to kill your children as you killed ours. We are here to end the threat your empire represents. Your emperor and your military leaders will surrender immediately. They will face trial for their crimes. In exchange, your civilians will be spared. Another pause. You have 1 hour to comply. If your leaders do not surrender, we will destroy every military target on and around your planet. The choice is yours. 1 hour. Choose wisely. The broadcast ended. The fleet waited. In the palace, the Emperor's advisors begged him to surrender. Commander Reth showed him the sensor readings, the impossible numbers, the certain death that surrounded them. We cannot win this fight, Reth said desperately. If we surrender, at least our people will survive. If we fight, we will all die. The Emperor's face twisted with rage. Surrender to humans? To those weak, pathetic creatures? Never. I would rather die. Then you will die alone, Reth said quietly. He turned and walked out of the throne room. Where are you going? The Emperor screamed. To tell our soldiers to stand down. If you wish to die for your pride, that is your choice. I will not let our people die with you. But it was too late. The Emperor grabbed a communication device and broadcast his own message to the remaining Vectari military forces. All ships, all soldiers, attack the humans. Show them the might of the Vectari Empire. Death before dishonor. Across the planet, some commanders obeyed. Others refused. Some ships powered up their weapons and flew toward the human fleet. Others shut down their engines and broadcast surrender signals. On the Vengeance, alarms flashed. Admiral, enemy ships are powering weapons. Approximately 3,000 vessels are moving to attack. Yuna sighed. She had hoped it would not come to this. Open fire. The human fleet responded as one. 60,000 ships unleashed their weapons at the same moment. Beams of light filled the space between the fleets. Missiles streaked across the darkness. In seconds, the sky above Vectari Prime became a storm of fire and metal. The Vectari ships never had a chance. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and surrounded. Human weapons tore through their shields. Human missiles destroyed their engines. One by one, the attacking ships exploded or went dark. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, not a single Vectari warship remained. Admiral, Teho said softly, enemy fleet has been neutralized. We have lost 47 ships, 47 out of 60,000. The Vectari had lost 3,000. The difference was so great it was hard to believe. Target their orbital defense stations, Yuna ordered. Destroy any military installation, but avoid civilian areas. We are soldiers, not murderers. The fleet moved with precision. Military bases on the planet's surface were destroyed from orbit. Orbital stations crumbled under human fire. Weapons, factories, shipyards, and command centers all fell one by one. Throughout the attack, human ships carefully avoided hitting cities, schools, hospitals, or homes. They could have destroyed everything. They chose not to. On the planet below, Vectari civilians watched in terror and confusion. They had been told humans were weak. They had been told the Empire was invincible. Now they saw their military destroyed in minutes while their homes remained untouched. Commander Reth gathered the surviving military officers and broadcast a message to the human fleet. Fleet Commander Dae Sung, this is Military Commander Reth. The Emperor refuses to surrender. But he no longer speaks for our people. I am taking command of remaining Vektari forces. We surrender unconditionally. Please, stop the attack. Dae Sung responded immediately. Commander Reth, we accept your surrender. Order all remaining forces to power down their weapons and prepare to be boarded. Where is the Emperor? In his palace. He has locked himself inside with his personal guards. We will deal with him. Yuna led a team of soldiers to the palace personally. She wanted to see the face of the man who had ordered the destruction of her home. The palace guards surrendered without a fight. They knew resistance was pointless. The Emperor was found in his throne room, sitting on his golden chair. Waiting. You cannot arrest me, he said proudly. I am the Emperor. I am divine. I answer to no one. Yuna walked up to him slowly. She looked into his eyes and saw nothing but arrogance and hate. You ordered the attack on New Busan, she said quietly. Yes, and I would do it again. Humans are insects. You should be grateful we only destroyed one of your colonies. 2-5. Yuna wanted to kill him right there. Her hand moved toward her weapon. But she stopped herself. He was not worth it. You will face trial, she said. You will answer for the 2 million people you murdered, and the galaxy will watch as you are judged by the species you called insects. She turned and walked away, leaving the Emperor to be taken by her soldiers. The war was over. It had lasted less than a day. The Vektari Empire fell in 3 days. After the throne world surrendered, the other Vektari systems followed quickly. Without their emperor, without their military command, they had no one to give them orders. Human ships appeared in orbit of each major world, and surrender came without a fight. Fleet Commander Dae Sung established a temporary government on Vektari Prime. Commander Reth was appointed as interim leader until proper elections could be held. The Vektari people were confused and afraid, but they were alive. That was more than they had given the people of New Busan. The Emperor's trial was broadcast across the entire galaxy. Every species watched as the proud ruler was forced to answer for his crimes. Evidence was presented. Survivors from New Busan testified. The video of the attack was played again and again. Admiral Yuna spoke at the trial. She stood before the court and described what she had seen that day. The buildings falling. The families running. The children screaming. I was a soldier for 30 years, she said. I retired because I was tired of war. I wanted peace. I moved to New Busan because it was quiet and beautiful. I thought I would spend the rest of my life watching sunsets and growing flowers. She paused and looked at the Emperor, who sat in chains on the defendant's platform. This man took that from me. He took it from 2 million people who only wanted to live their lives. They were not soldiers. They were not threats. They were farmers and teachers and doctors and children. And he killed them because he thought humans were beneath him. The court found the Emperor guilty of genocide. He was sentenced to life in prison on a remote asteroid, alone with his thoughts forever. Many thought he deserved death, but humanity chose to let him live. Death was too quick, too easy. Let him spend decades thinking about his failure. 1 month after the war ended, a ceremony was held on New Busan. The planet was still scarred from the attack. Ruins covered the ground where cities once stood. The air still smelled of smoke and dust. Humans from across the galaxy came to pay their respects. Ships filled the sky. The same ships that had brought justice to the Vektari. But now they came in peace, to remember and to mourn. Admiral Yuna stood at the center of the ruined capital city. Behind her, a massive memorial had been built. It was a wall of black stone, carved with the names of every person who had died in the attack. 2 million names, stretching across the landscape like an endless poem of grief. We gather here today to remember, Yuna said. Her voice broadcast to the entire system. We remember the people we lost. The parents, the children, the friends, the neighbors. Each name on this wall was a life full of dreams and hopes. Each name was a story that will never be finished. She touched the wall gently. Her own neighbors' names were there. Her doctor, the young couple who owned the bakery down the street from her home, the children she used to see walking to school every morning. The Vectari thought they could destroy us. They thought by attacking one colony, they would show the galaxy how weak we were. They were wrong. We are not weak. We are not alone. And we never, ever forget. Teho and Hana stood among the crowd. They held hands, drawing strength from each other. The child Hana had saved from the hospital stood between them, now adopted and loved. Will we ever feel normal again? Teho asked quietly. I do not know, Hana answered. But we will keep trying. That is all we can do. Fleet Commander Dae Sung spoke next. He addressed not just the humans present, but the entire galaxy watching the broadcast. Let this day be a lesson to every species among the stars. Humanity does not seek war. We have spent 300 years trying to live peacefully with our neighbors. We have traded fairly. We have shared knowledge freely. We have helped those in need. His voice hardened. But do not mistake our kindness for weakness. Do not think our desire for peace means we cannot fight. We have 60,000 warships. We have billions of soldiers ready to serve, and we have a memory that never fades. Attack one of our colonies, and you attack all of humanity. Hurt one of our people, and you hurt all of us. This is not a threat. It is a promise. The ceremony ended with a moment of silence. Across human space, billions of people stopped what they were doing. Ships went quiet. Cities fell still. For 1 minute, humanity stood together in grief and determination. Then, life continued. Ships returned to their stations. People went back to work. The galaxy moved on, as it always does, but things had changed. Other species looked at humans differently now. Before, they had seen humans as newcomers, weak and harmless. Now, they saw the truth. Humans were peaceful because they chose to be, not because they had to be. New treaties were signed. Trade agreements improved. Other species began treating humans with respect instead of tolerance. Some did this out of genuine friendship. Others did it out of fear. It did not matter. The result was the same. Admiral Yuna retired again, but not to New Busan. That pain was too fresh. Instead, she moved to Earth, to a small house near the ocean. She spent her days fishing and watching the waves, trying to find peace again. Teho and Hana stayed in the military. They felt they owed it to the people they had lost. Teho became a captain of his own ship. Hana became the head of medical services for an entire fleet. They married 2 years after the war, in a small ceremony surrounded by friends who had become family. The child Hana had saved, a boy named Jiho, grew up to become a diplomat. He spent his life building bridges between species, trying to prevent another war like the one that had taken his parents. Fleet Commander Dae Sung served for another decade before retiring. He wrote a book about the war, not as a celebration but as a warning. We must always be ready. He wrote in the final chapter, not because we want to fight, but because our enemies must know we can. Years passed, decades, centuries. The war became history. The memorial on New Busan became a place of pilgrimage. Humans traveled from across the galaxy to touch the wall, to read the names, to remember. New cities grew on New Busan. Children were born who never knew the old colony. They learned about the attack in school, but it was just a story to them, something from the distant past. But the memorial remained. And every year, on the anniversary of the attack, humans across the galaxy stopped for 1 minute of silence. They remembered New Busan. They remembered the 2 million. They remembered the fury that had united their species against a common enemy. And in that silence, a message echoed through the stars, as clear as the day it was first spoken. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And we will never stop protecting our own. This was humanity. This had always been humanity. And the galaxy had finally learned to respect it.